Ground level theology, oh yeah, making sense of the concepts, loud and clear, no need to be a scholar, no need to be elite. Ground level theology, making it sweet.
Welcome back, folks. Welcome back to Ground Level Theology. With me, as always, is the co-host of Ground Level Theology, Dave Hoffman. Dave, welcome back.
Thank you. Happy to be here. So proud, everybody, to be welcomed back yet again. Haven't been kicked off the show yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's riding on
No,
thin
not
ice,
yet.
but yeah. He's been doing somersaults and jumping on it, and it's supporting him pretty well. So
Yeah. Blades of glory.
Oh man, hey, our season 4 has been crazy. I mean, I just really wanted to point this out. I mean, we started off with the Wes Huff, Billy Carson saga, the story. We were just reporting, and that really took off. But then we reported in the same manner. We talked about Islam and what's been going on with them, and that blew up, folks. I mean, that really took
No
off.
pun intended.
I didn't even mean to do that.
I'm so sorry. It was there.
I just wanted to show you guys this because what we did after that, there was so much debate kicking off in the comments. We wanted to respond to this. We wanted to clarify what we were saying. And then in addition to that, we wanted to teach you guys the Islamic dilemma. Guys, I was really hoping that it was going to break through on this second video. I mean, we were calling out Muslims here. And let me just show you the Ground Level Theology page here. There we have the Wes Huff, and then we have 1.7K views on the Islam, and then we responded and gave the Islamic dilemma, and a steep fall off in views. Now, just so you know, it from all the comments on the other video, all the proud Muslims were absent in the second one when we give the Islamic dilemma. So there we gave you guys the Islamic dilemma. We gave you guys the receipts as we went to their surahs, and nowhere to be found is a Muslim in sight. So just another win for Christianity, another blow for Dawah on the Islamic front. So guys, yeah, it's we are going crazy with this fourth season. But we did also want to not just react. We have reported what's been going on. That's been going crazy. Good job with all of you guys. Thank you guys for being with us. But we also did want to tackle the deeper questions, right? And so we did that last week. Those were one of the questions you guys had on, as far as pastoral counseling. Where is that line? Where's the line where someone's problem becomes my own, or whether I kind of stiff arm them and keep them at a distance, making sure that I don't make their problem my own? Well, this week, actually, we have another episode, a viewer asked question that we thought would actually be a phenomenal episode. And that's actually the topic of immigration. I mean, are Christians hypocrites on immigration? Dave, do you want to kick us off with this one?
Yeah, sure, 100%. I've had it posed to me, and I brought it to you because we're Christians, right? We are supposed to be the hands and feet of Christ. We are commanded to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. We are commanded in various parts of Scripture, and we're going to look at them tonight in their proper context of we're supposed to welcome the sojourners among us. We are called by God that we welcome them. Why? Well, because when Israel, when they were exiles, when they were sojourners, in the land of Egypt and in Babylon and in Assyria. It's like you remember how you felt, right? You were taken from your home, you were out of place, and you weren't welcomed. Uh, and so you're to be different. And then even, we can take that and apply that to the church where you know what it's like to feel to be an outsider sometimes, to not be welcome. You're picked last on, the kickball team or during school or something. It's not a good feeling. And so, I've heard it posed now a large political issue, especially when it comes down to the debate, Democrat, Republican, Christian nationalism, uh, or a more the more humanitarian to side of Christianity as opposed to just
Well, I mean, let's
benevolence
let's be
Christianity.
honest
But
here,
yeah, I
where
mean,
where all of this like really boils to the forefront. I mean, right now in the administration, the current administration, the commander in chief, Donald Trump, is the guy who made the motto, or at least became the poster boy for "Build the Wall," right? In some
yeah,
sense,
lots of
he
t-shirts.
became the poster boy for the topic of immigration. The thing that came from that as well is that became central, or maybe not central, but one of the key pillars of what it means to be a conservative is to be a bit tighter on immigration. So just
Right.
part of all of that surrounded what it is to be conservative, and when some of these core tenets come into what it is to be conservative, and what also it is to be a conservative is to be religious, or Christian, because a lot of Christians are currently in the conservative camp, on the Republican camp, as pushing against the liberal agenda. Um, there's sort of this meshing of views that to be a Christian is to be tight on immigration. Now, we do have brothers and sisters who are Democrats who view the opposite. They think we should be open border, and they will make a case for that themselves. And so I just wanted to come forward with that. I mean, let's just say it how it is. Because Donald Trump is, sort of the borders are, as people think he is. This becomes a center stage issue. And one of the things that happens in any political conversation is, what is the Christian view?
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, and what, yeah, what is the Christian view on immigration? Is there anything in the Bible that, not that we knock on the White House door and say, hey, this is how you handle foreign policy, the Lord. I mean, actually, that'd be pretty cool. It'd be like Martin Luther over here nailing, this is how you handle uh, your Homeland Security and Border Patrol. Uh, but I think there are clear principles that we could apply, maybe not always explicitly. I think there are some examples that are explicit, but even implicitly, of the manner in which that there were stipulations in the Bible for the people of Israel when they were exiles, and then when they had their own land, when people were traveling through or residing in the land of Israel, that you couldn't just walk in and you couldn't do whatever you wanted. It doesn't work like that in any other country. I really haven't seen that anywhere else in history, and at least where it went well and worked out well.
Yeah. Yeah, and so when we even look at some of these texts too, because I mean, you already talked about it a bit, especially with very many of these texts. I mean, you summarize them well. What they
Yeah, I just
say
didn't
is,
say the specific
yeah, you
reference
didn't
just
make the
yet,
reference, but I mean, let's just use one that you essentially quoted. But I mean, that's why I say essentially quoted, guys. This is just repeated a lot in the Bible. So I'll just go ahead and show this to you. This is Exodus 22:21. Let me scroll to the top here just so you see it. Exodus 22:21, English Standard Version. because that's the best version of the Bible.
Extra
Over
extra
the
special.
over the Hebrew and the Greek itself is the
If it was good enough for Paul, it's good enough for us.
All right. Exodus 22:21, it says, "You shall not wrong the sojourner or oppress him, for you were sojourners in the land of Egypt." Now, for those of you who have never heard the word sojourner before, that's just to be foreign or to be a foreigner. So you shall not wrong the foreigner or oppress him, for you were foreigners in the land. That is so much of the Old Testament right there. Real simple, real sweet, real straightforward. Deuteronomy 10:18. I won't bring this up. I'll just read it. He executes justice for the fatherless and the widow, and loves the sojourner. Verse 19. Love the sojourner. Therefore, for you were sojourners in the land. Jeremiah 7, 5 through 7, same thing. Zechariah 7, 9 through 10, same thing. But here's a big one. A little bit different, but I think it's gives a lot more meat to the conversation that we're having here, and that's Leviticus 19:33 through 34. I'm going to pull that up for you guys now.
Yeah.
If you're on Spotify, well, I'm reading it to you, so don't worry about that. You could visualize the text if you want.
There you go.
So here we are. Once again, I'll scroll to the top so you can see the reference. Leviticus 19, and then we're going to drop down to verse 33. It says, when the stranger sojourns with you in the land, you shall not do him wrong. You shall treat the stranger who sojourns with you as the native among you, and you shall love him as yourself, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. So, just made the reference. I mean, David just summarized it so well, and as we see,
You're welcome.
his summary was essentially reiterated throughout the Old Testament 4 times. I just read those to you. But in addition, we just got a little bit more of the meat of the conversation in Leviticus 19:33. And what we see there is, you shall treat the stranger as natives. That's going to be key, and that's going to be big to the conversation. Guys, we want to create steel men, not straw men of the conversation. We're not here to put up a podcast episode where we just defeat people real quick, put up straw men, and then field questions real quick. We want to dive deeper. We want to bring these topics at the ground level, but we don't want to shy away from how deep these topics are. And so, yes, as a Christian, what we don't want to shy away from is that was the Old Testament. Or I just don't follow that. No, according to the Bible, they were to treat the foreigners, that is the immigrants, as if they were natives. So we have to now address that on how do we do that as citizens, because they were citizens of Israel. Not really, we'll talk about that more, but they were treated just like anyone else. We're gonna be asking that same question a little bit later. We're gonna be talking about that same thing with how do we do that in the United States, especially in our political climate, in our political day, some thousands and thousands of years later. How do we faithfully live out these passages? Should we be faithfully living out these passages? All great questions. But to that, we are not done. I mean, there's still some references in the New Testament. Am I right, Dave?
Oh, yes. Plenty. This is not an exhaustive list. It might make you exhausted, but it's not exhaustive. Oh, goodness. I mean, yeah. We got a whole gamut.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
oh,
gonna
and even the words of Christ himself. Like they're not just, else all over the New Testament, but even the words of Christ himself, where it's like, we're not trying to add more weight, where it's like, oh, Paul said it, so it's not that big of a deal, but these words Jesus said. But at the same time, we know even Jesus was on, you know, he doesn't contradict the Old Testament. And he's not only assimilation, immigration bandwagon per se, um, but he's very much aware of what it means to be loving your neighbor as yourself, sacrificial, and then being outside of yourself and aware of your surroundings to know you're not the only person that walks on this planet. Uh, but yeah, we have plenty of New Testament. I know of a couple. I don't know if you have any already pulled up uh, for
Which one
us.
are you thinking of? I'm pulling up a few now.
Well, I mean, all of them, but even Matthew 25, 35, those, when I was thinking of the words
Yep.
of Jesus himself, um,
Let me.
and they hit home. I got to tell you, because you ever wonder if you're doing anything for the kingdom, or if you're ministering and blatant language
Yep.
of the Christ.
Matthew 25.
Mm-hmm.
Drop down to 35. Do you want to read that, or do you want me to read that?
Go for it. You got it. I like how
All right.
you read it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of difficult for you to read it off of my screen.
Correct. I'm just trying to find like a better way to say it.
Yeah. All right. It says, and this is Jesus. He says, "For I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you came to me." Then the righteous will answer to him, saying, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink?" And he said, when did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and visit you?" And the king will answer him, "Truly I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of my brothers, you did it to me." Hmm.
That's great. I agree. I like that. That's a good that he was on the Lord's on to something there.
You know,
What a
he
wise man.
is he is wise with words.
Yes, he is. It's like he's the word. Um, it, uh, is that passage talking about immigration?
It is talking about far more than immigration.
It's not talking about it, right? To
Yeah,
use a double negative. But is it only talking about immigration?
it
Like, could
is
we boil down that
definitely.
passage to this is, I know, I'm getting ahead,
Mhm.
but just thinking, so we welcome all strangers. I'm just leaving my front door unlocked.
Yeah,
I know, sorry. See
like
everybody, just
to.
want to let you know a little bit where are we going here. um, but yeah, but that's not the only, like, those are the words of Christ. But that's
Mhm.
not the only New Testament passage we have. I mean, we do have Hebrews 13.
Pull that
Um,
up.
okay, good.
Hebrews 13:2. I'll read
Yeah.
one since it's so
So
short.
short.
"Let brotherly love continue. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unaware."
Mm.
I mean, that's it. He's going to continue to go more
Ooh.
into like applicable things. But that,
Sure.
so the author of Hebrews, we know, anonymous writing. We don't know who wrote the book of Hebrews. We know
Yeah.
definitely
Some
someone
stranger.
of repute, someone who was an elder, someone who had the authority to do so. But we have Jesus's words. We have the author of Hebrews pretty much saying the exact same thing Jesus said in the passage that we just quoted. I mean, Jesus says, "For when you did it to the least of one of our brothers, you do it for me." And here, the author of Hebrews almost even calls back to Abraham with, "Hey, when you do these wonderful things, when you treat the foreigner right, who knows? You might even be treating an angel right." You know, we can think of Lot in Sodom and Gomorrah. Here he saw two foreigners coming into the city of Sodom, and he's worried about them. He's like, hey, these, you shouldn't sleep out on the city square and on the bus stop. You should I don't know, I have a spare room. Come stay over here. That way you're not harassed or anything. And little did Lot know that those were actually angels.
And they'd still get harassed. But
Yeah, yeah. Well, all this
well,
to say is the author of Hebrews,
yeah, knows what's
is
what.
appealing to how we ought to treat each other.
Yeah, exactly. Which is not undercutting it. It's beautiful language. We need to be doing this.
Yeah.
And but does that mean we eliminate? There's now no distinctions. There's nothing like diverse anymore, because it's like, you know what? If I treat the stranger like they're not a stranger, are they really a stranger anymore? And if I treat if I treat a resident like they're, it's like, hey, you're a stranger, but I'm going to treat you like you're a resident. So now we're the same. And you know what? There's no security in being a resident anymore, because, you know, I might be treated like a stranger because we're all the same. Uh, and to treat strangers like residents and residents like strangers, does that work? Is there any
Well,
passage in the
yeah. So
scriptures that
the
kind of might justify that?
well, the interesting thing too is, Jesus in the parable of the Good Samaritan, how do you treat your neighbor? You treat them
Right.
very well. You go the extra mile for them. But in the passage he talks about, the way you treat your brother, you to the very least of how you treat your brother, you've done it for me. I mean, Dave, we both know these types of references really matter. When he says brother, he doesn't mean anyone. So now, when we take that
Mm-hmm.
passage of what Jesus was talking about, that's actually how I treat you or you treat me. That's not how I treat the person outside of my house or down the street. It's
Right.
actually to
Correct.
the exclusion of that, because I've now narrowed the field to give a parallel for you guys who are listening. That is the same to say, I treat my family with the utmost respect. And you would say, well, so we should treat everyone with the utmost respect. And it's like, well, I mean, as a good person, we could do that. But what I said was, and what I was referring to specifically when I said that was, I treat my family. So I'm not talking about my friends. I'm not talking about strangers. I'm specifically talking about my family. Whether I treat everyone outside with the utmost respect, I actually don't. I don't treat everyone with the utmost respect, because if I'm in a bad neighborhood at the wrong time during the nighttime and I'm trying to make it back to my car, I'm sorry, but I really don't care who you are. If it's late and you're on the sidewalk, I really don't treat you with the utmost respect. I think you might try to rob me. Um, but if you're family and I see you on the street at that time, I'm going to treat you with the utmost respect. I'm going to say, like, hey, what are you doing here? This is kind of
Yeah.
weird.
Be like,
Like,
yeah. Yeah, what are you doing?
do you need
Yeah.
a ride?
So
We can
true.
walk over to my car. I'll drive you over to your car. So it's to the exclusion. Here Jesus says, however you treat one of the brothers, um, you've treated me well. So it's to the exclusion of non-brothers. Um, I mean,
Mm.
we can bring up other passages that might open up the field, but we do have to recognize that um, we can't necessarily take that passage to be universal. Um, so
Mm-hmm.
Dave, you've
Very
been
good.
you've been sort of like pushing it a little bit, making sure that we can think a little bit further.
Mm.
Um, Here, the author of Hebrews talks about hospitality to strangers because you might be entertaining angels.
Right.
So, yeah,
Which
that's
is,
just an alignment with the Old Testament.
it is. And it's, we're Christians, so you do stand out as a Christian witness where it's like, Wait, I'm a stranger. You have no reason to be nice to me. You don't know me. I could be a horrible person, or you know, you don't know if I can be trusted or not. There's 100 other people. They're not being nice to me, but you are. Why? And you have an opportunity to witness and be like, well, because you're made in the image of God, and I'm trying to be a witness at the same time. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to look like a different person, a friendly person in general. But I'm also, it doesn't say, you know, do not neglect to show hospitality to every stranger,
Hmm.
or it says strangers, meaning you don't have to know them personally to be nice to them.
Right.
But it's not saying you have to be nice to every one of them, you know.
Yeah.
Or at least
Um,
where, like, or where you're just going out of your, don't go out of your way to hurt someone or to be harmful or rude. But do I have to treat a stranger like they're my brother? Um,
and so this is
so
you asked this question, and I was gonna immediately jump into this verse, but I actually wanted to
right,
back up
yeah,
from
exactly.
kind of what everything you said and just kind of add a couple of my 2 cents, but even frame it in my mind so I can track. Um, so your question before I went off on this tangent was, do we have
Yeah,
anything that really kind of narrows down more what we mean by that?
right.
And we do in Ephesians 2:19 in particular. We'll go ahead and turn there in a second. Let me scroll to the top so you see the reference, and then as always I'll scroll back down. So we're in Ephesians 2, diving all the way down to 2:19. It says, I'll read at 18 and then I'll move into 19. For through him we both have access in one spirit to the Father. So we're talking about Christians here, because it's Christians who have the Spirit in them. That is the Spirit of the Father. The Spirit of God dwells in us. So verse 19 it says, "So then you are no longer strangers and aliens, but you are fellow citizens and saints and members of the household of God." Uh,
Mm.
that's an interesting one, folks, because here's what you might have heard. And I want to once again steel man this. I don't want to straw man this. Here's what you might have heard, and here's what people will use this as. There is now no strangers. All are family. And and let me tie this in with this real quick before we move forward. And then Dave, I want you to exegete Ephesians
Oh, of
2:19
course.
on what it
Yeah.
actually just said for the folks
Hmm.
in the back. So let me just
Of
read
course.
Galatians 3:28. Galatians, here we are at the top, 3, and then we are scrolling down to 28. There is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither slave nor free, there's neither male nor female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. So, coming back, the the person is going to make the argument that we are no longer distinguished in this way. We are all part of the family of God. David, what did that verse actually say?
Well, yeah. Do you want me to exegete it like I'm the Pope, or
Well, we have it up here for
hopefully not?
people to see. That way, they can call you out on it if you get it wrong. Um,
Yeah, we're all God's children now, and we're. No, I'm just kidding. You're not. Not everyone gets to be a child of God. Okay, he I always try to think of the inclusivity of the exclusive God and the exclusivity of the inclusive God, because he's both. Because part of heaven is like you're the island of misfit toys in Rudolph, where no one wants a Charlie in the box, okay? And it's like you read the genealogy of Jesus in Matthew, and it's like there's some good people in Jesus's family tree, there's some not good people in his family tree, And it's just, the epitome of like, these are the kind of people he came to save. Some people that kind of had it all together, even though they had big mess ups also, and then people who had really big mess ups. Uh, and it's a hodgepodge but the context of both of these passages, Ephesians 2:18 and 19, Galatians 3:28, is talking contextually in the household of faith, in the capital C universal church,
Yep.
within the context of believers in the household of faith, not every single person to ever exist and walk on this earth. It's
Yeah.
it's a smaller context where the context of Ephesians is you're not strangers, meaning the people in Ephesus, so primarily a Gentile context, they're being welcomed like, hey, you are not ethnically Israeli. You weren't born in Israel. You're not from one of the 12 tribes. You didn't have all those promises of the Old Testament. You're not genetically related to the literal Abraham, Isaac, or Jacob. But because of your faith in the Christ, the true Israel, you who were strangers to all those promises, you who were ethnic aliens and spiritual aliens, being Gentiles, are not aliens anymore by your faith. Everything they had, because you guys could literally read Ephesians 2:11 through 18 to like get the whole context, where we learn that Christ tore down the dividing wall of hostility, where there's not two sides of heaven or there's a Jewish side or a Greek side, but it's, are you in Christ or not? If you are in Christ, you are now one. And I say all that because I think it really also helps us understand Galatians
Yeah.
now as well, where to say that there's no Jew or Greek, there's no slave or free, male or female. It's not that, oh, see, God got rid of gender. He didn't do that. Oh, God gets rid of uh, slavery altogether or free people altogether. No, we find out and we look at American history, slavery didn't just up and disappear. And Paul wrote countless commands about how to be a good master and a good slave servant.
Yeah.
And he didn't get rid of Jews or Greeks. Like the distinctions didn't get thrown out, but you are no longer defined by the distinctions, and they were no longer to be a boundary or a barrier in how you treated one another. Again, in the household of faith, in the church, because you're recognizing, hey, I'm not more Christian because I'm Jewish or Greek. I'm not less Christian because I'm Jewish or Greek. God doesn't love me more or less because I'm a male or a female. So you don't throw those distinctions out, but it's not like you're equal in the household of faith in the sense that there's nothing genetically, biologically, ethnically that would make you superior to someone else who's also Christian.
Yeah,
That's
that
not what makes him love you.
that list right there
It's
of
way
like there's
different.
neither Jew nor Greek, ethnicity has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, that
Black or
language right
white
there.
has
Yeah.
nothing to do with it anymore.
Hmm.
There's neither slave nor free. Class has nothing to do with it. Doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, if you're slave or master. Male or female has nothing to do with gender. Um, uh, everyone can be found in Christ. Now, the funny thing is, and you just alluded to this, and it really just hit me, how funny it would be to make the argument, because I have read plenty of people making the argument for transgenderism on this,
Oh,
because of the
sure.
fail, no male or female.
I'm
But
non-binary.
also, it's
Like,
like if you just go two clauses before on neither Jew nor Greek, it's like, okay, does that mean there's no black people anymore?
ooh.
Mean there's no more Mexicans? Does that mean there's no Canadians? Does that mean there's no Irish or Scottish? Because
Right.
that's just ethnicities. It's like, do you think what Paul is saying here is that he got rid of those, or
I'm
if
sorry.
we follow, are you
Mhm.
following and understanding what he's saying is none of that matters with who gets into salvation? Um,
Right.
and by the way, male or female is here. He didn't say
Yeah, two
there is
genders.
no there's no more male or female or non-binary binary or gender
Binary.
fluid or
Yeah,
two-spirit or all this other stuff.
no furries. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
So that's not what's being said. But I think one of the big things too is if we just go back to Ephesians 2, let me just pull this out. One of the key words that you guys are going to get here, and just lean in close for this one, folks, is so there is, verse 19. So then you are no longer strangers and aliens. Let me slow that down further. We're in Ephesians 2:19, so you're not lost. We're talking about brothers. Verse 18 says, through him we both have access in one spirit to the Father. That's people who are indwelt by the Holy Spirit. So we're referring to Christians here. Verse 19, so then you are no longer strangers and aliens. Because you have the one spirit, you are no longer strangers and aliens. One more time. Because you are a Christian, you are no longer a stranger or a foreigner. So, what this is actually saying is if you are not a Christian, you are currently a stranger and an alien. Um, there, there is an exclusivity, folks. This is why
mhm,
we do believe in the exclusivity of Christ. You cannot come to the Father by Buddha, by
correct.
Muhammad, by Confucius, by any of the Hindu gods, by Joseph Smith and his false doctrines, by any of that. There's only one way into heaven, and that is through Jesus Christ as Lord, Savior, and God. Um,
Amen. Hmm.
if you are not found in the one Spirit, the Holy Spirit, who seals and indwells you, then you are a stranger. And so this is partly why I think Jesus says, hey, when you treat another brother, you do well to me. When Paul is persecuting the early church, he is found on the Damascus road, blinding light, falls off his horse. What does Jesus say? Saul, why do you persecute me?
Mm.
So there's an exclusivity that we can't just simply say, okay, now everyone is part of the family. No, everyone needs to come to Christ to first be part of the family. Um, we can't just make that a blanket statement. Now we should be hospitable, we should be nice, we should be caring for the sojourner as it says in the Old Testament, but we can't just too quickly apply these passages to these contexts, because then we're actually ripping them out of what they were intended to say. Did you want to
Hmm.
add anything to that?
No, no, like, well, because we're getting into the nitty-gritty of, okay, how do we take these scriptures and take and think of, well, if it's been politicized, like this is like, oh, your pastor's being political. It's like actually it's a spiritual problem. It's been addressed biblically, and we politicized it. It's become a political issue. I'm not being political. It's just a spiritual thing that has been politicized, and so don't get confused.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean,
and so I'm not trying to be like, one to one, where it's like, I'm taking the Bible and this is how you do your foreign policy now. But as Christians, because hopefully you listen to this podcast, you're a Christian. If not, I hope help you become a Christian. Because I just, yeah, they did not stay strangers in Ephesians 2. You didn't stay a stranger, you became a fellow citizen. And so the goal of the sojourner is to either stay a sojourner and you're passing through, well, you just keep passing through then. You keep walking. Don't stop. Because when you're ready to sit, now we have to do something. And so the goal of a stranger ideally is to not stay a stranger. And
Yep.
so if we were to apply that in this, like a more political context, or specifically, how is a Christian to view immigration, open borders, if we have or should we have borders at all, or are they open? What is, or the idea of assimilation? That's the big, America has been known as a everyone says America is a melting pot. Uh, and I like that idea if it was true. But no one's melting. It's a stew. I'm a piece of meat. I'm a carrot. I'm a hunk of potato. Everyone, you know what I mean? You come here as a carrot, you want to stay a carrot. You don't want to melt. And I do like that, especially not keeping with the food analogy. I do like that we have a whole bunch of cultures in America and different foods, and that is a wonderful thing. But that's culture. But it's also, you know, falls under the headship, the umbrella of, well, citizenship is not just, culture. It's you're not just here to, you know, bring your culture with you. That's fine and good, but to have the rights and the privileges that you can receive by residing in this country or other countries, for that matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that comes through assimilation.
Yeah. And so coming back to all of that, and wait, we'll
Yeah,
go
that's a
ahead
whole
and
lot.
pull up Leviticus 24:22 because that's exactly what you're referring to.
Exactly.
But yeah, I don't want us to get too bogged down, as you just said, on politics. Guys, what we are having right now is a theological discussion that has been politicized. Um,
Correct.
I don't want us to approach or have the idea that this is a Republican stance on. This is a way to defeat Democrats on, or this is a more democratic stance on, or this is a center leaning uh, stance on immigration. This is not one or the other side. This is a biblical view of trying to navigate the political sphere. Um, and so I'll just say this outright. I don't know if David will agree, but I'll just say this:
Can't hurt.
there is a problem with immigration, and I think there should be something done to the way our immigration system works. However, I don't know how to fix it. Um, that being said, we
How
shouldn't
humble.
allow the system to go on broken.
Hmm.
But that doesn't mean that we should allow people um, to gain by breaking the system. What is clear is we, just as in anything, hey, if the ride isn't working, you shut the ride down and no one gets on it. Um, if we agree that immigration is broken, then we need to shut down immigration until we can fix it.
Mm.
That is kind of where I'm at. I agree it is completely broken. There needs to be a way in which immigration can happen more fluidly, more safely, and in a way where people don't take 7 to 10 to 15 years to go from being an alien to the country to becoming a citizen. But
Mm.
that being said, I don't know how to fix it. Uh, I am
Mhm.
I am a pastor. I'm a theologian. I'm not a politician. There would be an innumerable amount of hours for me to work on that before I think I could even get to developing it. But that being said, when we go to the biblical view, we have to take this into account, and that is if we are going to use a biblical view to make our case for our particular view in immigration, yes, it will inherently take in all the context that we just brought in and all the verses from the Old and New Testament. But it must also incorporate these two verses these two texts as well. I'm going to go ahead and read Leviticus 24:22. David was already introducing it for us.
It's a good one, okay?
Yeah, and essentially you need to assimilate as a foreigner in the new land. Yes, you will be treated as a native born, but you should assimilate as well. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up now. Leviticus, I'm going to scroll to the top, Leviticus 24. You see it in the English Standard Version. I'm going to scroll back down to 22, and I'll go ahead and read it. It says, verse 22, you shall have the same rule for the sojourner and for the native, for I am the Lord your God. So there we have it. Leviticus 24:22. Now the NIV renders it a little bit clearer because it's a little bit more for readers in English. And I'll just go ahead and read that so that it makes it even more plain. You are to have the same law for the foreigner and the native born person. So whether foreign or a native born citizen, same law. Dave, do you want to unpack that a little bit in regards to assimilation?
Sure. In the United States of America, if you do not have a driver's license, are you allowed to drive a vehicle?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Does that mean if you're a resident, you can drive a vehicle without a driver's license?
Nope.
Does it mean, okay, you're not a resident, you're a stranger, you can drive a vehicle without a driver's license?
You'd probably end up on the wrong side, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Same law.
Yeah.
If you do not have a driver's license, you cannot operate a motor vehicle on the road. The same laws. Hey, if you're a resident of the United States of America, can you go rob a gas station? No.
Wait, are you
If you're
asking in reality or how it should work?
how it should work in reality. I'm playing, but
Because you're
yeah,
talking to
I know.
someone in California, okay?
Hey, I just moved down here. Okay, Baltimore per capita. All right,
Okay.
okay,
Okay, yeah.
but it's not great. Yeah, you're not supposed to
Yeah,
be able to rob a gas station. Um, if you're from this country as a citizen, if you're not from this country, you are not allowed to do those things.
right.
There are laws in place that do not show partiality. Oh, you're a resident? This law does not apply to you. Oh, you're a sojourner? This law does not apply to you. It's no, you're not allowed to murder people. You're not allowed to rob banks. You can't drive a vehicle without a driver's license.
Now, before you go
Now,
on, I'm going to
oh yeah,
interrupt just real
yeah,
quick because I want to
sure,
double down since the other
sure,
one says the same thing in a little bit more words.
yeah.
Because you're doing an awesome job. I'll read this again and then just continue.
I like
Um,
doubling down, man. You got
yeah.
you split the aces, dude. Let's go.
So here we are in Numbers 15:15 through 16. I didn't stutter. It's 15:15 and 16. So Numbers 15:15 through 16. I'll bring that up, and then here you see Numbers 15 ESV going down to 15, and I'll go ahead and read. It says, "For the assembly there shall be one statute for you and for the stranger who sojourns among you, a statute forever throughout your generations. You and the sojourner shall be alike before the Lord. One law and one rule shall be for you and for the stranger who sojourns among you." Once again, I'll read that for the NIV. It says, "The community shall have the same rules for you and the foreigner residing among you. This is a lasting ordinance for generations to come. You and the foreigner shall be the same before the Lord. The same laws and regulations will apply to both you and the foreigner residing among you." So there you have it. Now you can keep going because you were saying some stuff and I was like, man,
It's like, yeah, here's
you're saying exactly what Numbers 15:15 is saying.
well, it's well because we try to be scriptural, like
Right.
like it. Sometimes it just happens organically where it's like, see, like we're not always going chapter or verse for everything we say, but we really do try to be like locked in everybody
Right.
with like this is scriptural and case in point of but there's laws in place. I'm not above the law because I'm a resident of the United States of America. I'm actually held to that standard, and I should be even more aware of that standard and those laws because I am a resident. It's one thing, having moved to a new state in the last few months, it's having to learn those new laws, some of them, in that new state because it's like I'm not in that old state anymore. This is a new state. And just because, I'm new doesn't mean those laws don't apply to me or I wouldn't be held accountable to them. Ignorance of the law, is not absence of the law. But if as opposed to going to a friend who has lived in this, in this same state for 20 some years,
Yeah. Yeah. And
moved here. Same,
oh,
same for in the country. Well, I'm just saying same for when you're residing. It's like the stranger, the sojourner, the immigrant is held to these laws, even though they're new to them.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
we should know them better because we reside here, is what I'm trying. But we have the same laws. It's not like, I have a different law than the stranger, and the stranger has a different law than me. You're coming into any particular country, doesn't matter where you're from, you have to abide by that country's laws. That's how it works.
Yeah. And we
It's
even
not
see
just
that
America, is
state
what
to
I'm trying to
state.
say.
I mean,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you go for, and I'm just going to use gun laws because I mean, from the South
Sure, that's the obvious
to
one. Yeah.
very, very liberal states, like sanctuary states and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
California being one of those. Um, I mean, things
You better know
cannot
'em.
come across. I mean, you can end up in prison just taking what you own to California. Um, and that's because the law is different there.
Yep. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even as an
Good point.
American citizen going from within the nation,
The same. Yeah.
yeah, you have to know the particular laws of that place. You are held to those laws. The problem is we are seeing that there has been lately in the political sphere two laws, maybe even three. The
Mm.
laws that politicians live by, the laws we live by, and the laws illegal aliens live by.
Mm.
And the
Hmm.
problem is the laws native born citizens live by are the strictest. The laws
Exactly. The
politicians
irony.
live by are their own. They might get, put in jail if they put something particularly bad and can be found in court. The laws that illegal aliens live by are the Wild West. I mean, we have time and time again just names upon names of people who have done the most horrendous, atrocious things and are still walking around.
Mm-hmm.
How many stories do we have to hear of X person did this, murdered this person, or raped this person, or something like that? And
Taking over apartment complexes.
yeah, and they're gonna be deported, and this is the third instance.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
like,
It's not the first
are you
time.
kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah. It's
wish that I
frustrating.
could say I'm cherry picking these stories, but I have a personal anecdote of someone I know who was an illegal alien on his third strike of a DUI before he got
Yeah.
deported.
Yeah. Right.
And it's like a native born citizen won't end up on their third strike on a DUI. At his age, at what he was
Yeah.
doing, he was driving without a license 3 times,
Man.
drunk 3 times.
Ah. Yeah, how do you get away with that? Like, you're not supposed to. Like,
Yeah,
but you are.
but he was an illegal alien.
Right,
And I'm
right.
not calling him a friend because he was not one of my friends, but he was someone I personally knew. I wish this wasn't so. And as we look at the biblical record, they should be held to the same standards we are.
Yeah.
Now, I want to take a step back from the politics of our day, and I want our audience to understand what that really means. So I'm going to leave 2025. I'm going to leave America. I'm going to go back to the original context of Leviticus and Numbers. We're going to be, you know, ancient Israelites, ancient Jews who are receiving this word. Now, we are to treat the native Canaanites, the native Philistines, or whatever, whoever is in the land who wishes to be part of us, who wishes to live with us, we are to treat them no different than our Jewish brothers. Here is where I'm going to try and just make this as clear as possible so you understand how deep this is. As an Israelite, the temple is the White House. As an Israelite, the priests are the judges, the policemen, the pastoral counselor, the city ordinance building. They are everything. I am living in a nation where the king is God. I'm not living in a nation that is secular, that doesn't believe in God. I am living in what is called a theocracy. This is a religiously centered nation with religiously grounded laws. It is illegal to work on the Sabbath, possibly with the execution of death if you
Hmm.
break that law. There are rules that are religiously grounded that carry significant implications if you break them. As a foreigner who comes into the Israelite community with my various pagan beliefs, if I wish to be part of the society, I am welcomed in as one of their own. But if I am found working on the Sabbath, because I did not assimilate to the nation, I will be executed because I am being treated like the native. That is the original context. Moving back now, time traveling back to where we are today, that is the way it should be if we are using these biblical references the way that they were used. And I do think that's a good view. Having not been in a theocracy, being in a Christian founded nation, you shouldn't be able to have your DUI. I think every first instance of an illegal action should be deportation, because if you have found yourself to be shown that you cannot abide by the laws of the land, of which I have yet to go to prison, I have yet to go to jail. And if you're visiting the country and you're going to jail, like, try a different country. So
That's
you
funny.
shouldn't be able to come in, do what you want, or break a law or something like that and continue on. The idea
Mm.
of multi strike people that are illegal aliens is absurd, let alone not being brought under the justice of the law. It is not unbiblical, the laws that we have. It is anti biblical, the immigration views that many people carry.
Hmm. And isn't that ironic? I mean, the irony, like I've thought that in the sense of justice as well. Like when we want social, any type of justice, real reform, like prison reform. If you want real justice to the justice system, uh, social justice. Uh, and when we think, and then we'll layer on to try to guilt trip Christians that might be lackadaisical or ignorant, or maybe you don't fit a particular ideology where you're not being very godly or Christian because if you were, you'd be doing what we're doing. We're better Christian, we're not Christians, but we're just being more Christ-like than you are. That gets thrown in your face. And I think about that like in the justice realm, where it's like, do you want biblical justice? It's trust me, it's way better if I judge you than for God to judge you. Like you don't
Yeah,
want like I'm a human. I have faulty justice. I'm a Christian and I still have faulty justice because I justify my own sins, I justify my own actions, I do what is right in my own eyes as a Christian, and I try to repent of that. But that's on like a good day. Imagine the perfect, holy, never makes mistakes righteousness, justice of God. That's all about biblical justice. And if I think about it in like those terms with justice, imagine, okay, you want me to be more biblical about immigration? Should I be more godly when it comes to how we view our borders and the sojourners among us? I don't like it's just the irony of I think folks that kind of throw that
yeah,
in at this current, it's more liberals throwing in conservative faces, more Democrats throwing it in Republicans' faces, but just in general, of folks saying, you're a Christian, then why are you so tough on immigration? But the irony is, I don't think we're tough enough. If you want me to be biblical, I'm not being very biblical.
yeah,
The irony is is just that.
yeah.
You're calling folks to be more Christian in their immigration policies, but the irony is
We're
you're
trying.
not yours. Yeah, exactly. Your stance is not more Christian. It's actually anti-Christian. It's going against the Bible just as bad, if not worse. You're no different than me, apparently.
Yeah,
If I'm messing up, well, don't think you're not, because yeah, you're trying to get rid of all laws, all
yeah.
accountability.
And the point is, we would love people to come across the border and help us. I mean,
Yeah,
one of the great things is
100%.
with Elon Musk trying to do that with his company, despite struggling because sometimes the government under certain administrations he gets looked at and
Hmm.
threatened
Hmm.
for doing things that are legal and trying to get the best minds from around the world under his roof.
Right.
Um, I am pro immigration in that respect. I am fine with people coming, bringing their best. It is why in America we have the best doctors. We pay. We pay for the best minds around the world to be housed under our roof.
Mm.
That being said, there will be people who come in who are not the best minds. We need to be able to
Fair
weed
enough.
them out.
Yeah.
And so don't straw man us to say, okay, because we would like certain people out because they are breaking the laws, that therefore we want everyone out. No, no, no. We do like to treat the foreigner as our own. Whenever I'm around someone who's not from America, and I am around that as someone who's in the PhD, great minds come together. One of the things that I always try and do, and don't look at me as a cool guy for doing this, it's just I try and make them feel comfortable. I can't imagine what it would feel like to go to a different country in a language that is not your first and try and navigate the highest level of education, let
Hmm.
alone try and make friends at the highest level of education. So I always like to tease them, kind of makes them feel a little bit more comfortable, and then bring them into the circle. Um, we love when we're able to share with others, when people can bring their cultures and make ours more rich. Um, we love people, other cultures' food. We love other cultures' language. We love other cultures and their diversity. The tapestry of the body of Christ is multitudinal. There's going to be very different patterns and colors on the tapestry of the body of Christ. But that being said, when you come into a nation, you have to come into the same culture and laws. You can still be Mexican, but you're going to have to be Mexican American. You can still be African, but you're going to have to become African American. You can still be, from the Middle East and come in, but you're going to have to assimilate. And the part of that assimilation process is to come under the same laws, and even also with other cultures, and this is where this gets a little bit nitty gritty, is you have to come to some middle ground of culture that is America. Um, you can still have your diverse culture, but you also have to have American culture. Uh, just as sort of a little anecdote, um, when I was in seminary, when I was in Bible college actually at Moody, and you remember this guy. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not gonna say his name, but he
Right.
came.
No, I know.
He was a
Yeah.
missions guy, came from Thailand. He had just gotten back, and
Yeah.
he invited me to his dorm room to kind of just talk. He was very hospitable,
Very,
wonderful guy.
great guy.
So I came
Mm-hmm.
in, his roommate, he was a dude from Chicago, white guy, long hair, real cool guy, you know?
Super chill. The polar opposite.
So I
But
came in there and I'm like, okay, um,
sorry,
everyone
everybody.
has a different vibe to their room.
Mm-hmm.
So I come in,
Right.
I'm trying to feel out what this guy's vibe is because he's pretty different. So
Right.
he sits me down and he makes me some tea and he gives me the tea and I love tea. And so I'm looking around and I'm enjoying his room and I see his roommate who has his feet kicked up and he's almost like hammock kicking back and I'm thinking, okay, I see that. I see a couple things. I rest my feet up. Um, just trying to maintain the comfortable atmosphere of the room. I'm trying to navigate the culture of someone else's room on the very same floor.
Mm-hmm.
That's being sensitive. Here's the
Like you're
problem.
like 2 doors down,
Yeah,
3 doors down.
here's the problem, folks, and this is why I bring this up. A year later, this person, we were talking. He said, the first night when I invited you over just to hang out, I wanted to kick you out and cuss you out or whatever. He wanted to kick me out and he thought I was extremely rude. I said, what do you mean, man? Like I was trying to like befriend you, what did I do? And he said, you put your feet up and in the culture that I was just in, that is like saying you are like the bottom of my feet. Like it's dirty, it's the utmost insult. And I said, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to do that. I would never say that to you or make you feel like that. I was just trying to do what I was seeing done in your room. I was emulating what I thought was comfortable. Um, so he said, "Yeah, I know. It struck me when you came in." So I failed to assimilate to his room. But also he failed to assimilate back into the American culture when even his roommate was kicking his feet up. Um, and
That's
so
very
there's
funny.
going to be times in which we go past each other, and that's one funny instance in which that happened.
Yeah,
But
dude, with your crazy feet.
but the
I
thing
still
is,
remember that. Oh
we
gosh.
do need to assimilate in
Mm-hmm.
that way.
Correct.
He does have that cultural understanding from where he had spent all that time. I think it was like he was there for about a year or two. But he had ingrained that into himself, but he's no longer in that culture. it is not appropriate for him to suddenly get up, lash out, cuss me out, maybe even beat me up because I'm kicking my feet up when he's no longer in Thailand. He is now in America. And here we prioritize comfort. So there is going to be a necessary assimilating process. And that's just what I'm saying. You
Right.
can still be with your culture, you can still have the beauty and all of that. But what you have to know is you cannot copy and paste that into here and expect America to support that. Rather, there's going to be a melting pot in which your flavors will need to assimilate to the entire flavor of the pot. Um,
Yeah. Go to
and that
China and say, "Where's my Bill of Rights?"
exactly.
It does
And
not.
that
It
was the
doesn't work that
second
way.
story that I wanted to bring out. And that's
Exactly.
the story that we all saw on the national scale of Brittany Griner.
Yep.
She went to
Exactly.
Russia and she took a little bit of pot. I think it was in the form of a vape pen or something, but she took the marijuana in the
The
liquid
marriage of
form, I
guarana.
think. Yeah. And she took it into Russia and she got imprisoned for it. It was okay in America, but it is not okay in Russia. That is a high crime in which they also took the opportunity to make her a political prisoner as well. But that is not without its warrant because it is highly illegal over there. Um, she needed to assimilate to the Russian culture. Likewise, when people are coming from the Middle East or other countries and they come to America, you must assimilate to the American culture.
Hmm. And I would argue one of the best ways to assimilate to American culture is to make sure y- you arrive the legal way.
Yeah, and that's the big thing, right? So when we talk about illegal immigrants, we are inherently talking about criminal immigrants. And
You're
we
right.
have
Like,
to make that
yeah.
distinction because what we are not talking about is immigrants or people that are foreigners, right? Maybe people that are vacationing or anything like that. What we are
Mhm.
talking about is people who have already broken the law, already broken the law by coming into the country in an illegal manner, either not through the ports of entry or overstaying their visa.
Right.
So we are talking about people that by definition have already broken the law. And according to the biblical precedent, each one of those people should be deported and subject to the justice of the legal system. By definition, according to what people were trying to hold us to on we should behave more biblical. If we did, each one of those people would be subjected to the justice system. Each one of those people should be deported. That is the biblical precedent. Um,
I
yeah,
agree. I agree. I mean, even and that actually that did come up in a it went viral to a certain degree, depending on who you follow. But that was actually in a relatively recent White House press secretary like that conference where it's like, you know, what have these illegal immigrants done other than, are you going to prosecute the ones who have done, illegal immigrants who have done horrible crimes, or like the actual criminals, or just ones who've been here illegally? And I do remember, I don't know where you stand, like everybody, but I know where I stand. When I heard the White House press secretary say, well, to come here illegally is a criminal act.
yeah,
Like you are a criminal. Yeah, it's like, oh, I understand like the MS-13s or the harsh criminals, but why are you treating those who have come here illegally? They just come here, why are you treating them like criminals? It's like, well, because they came here illegally. That
yeah.
makes you a criminal. Like,
There,
uh,
and this maybe we can say this is the victory of the liberal left, the far
Sure.
left.
Yeah.
This is the victory of them, but they have changed the conversation. They have changed the vocabulary. They have changed the definition of words so that illegal immigrant now means immigrant. And
Yeah, like
that's not
illegal
true.
is not a modified. Yeah, it's an
Yeah,
adjective. Just modified immigrant
that is so.
because there's legal
Immigrants
immigration.
are allowed to be here.
Yeah.
Immigrants are working through the process of citizenship. That is fine. No one has a problem with that. In fact, that's all good, and that's what we enjoy, and that's all of that. Illegal immigrants have broken the law and coming across secretively, not through the port of
Yeah.
entry, not according to the system that is put in place.
Yeah. It's
And
not Ellis Island even. Like you at least had to go in, get your name, you work a job,
yeah,
pay taxes.
so already criminal behavior.
Right.
Um, so yeah. That I mean that's a good distinction there to make too, because that really does become like, why are you against illegal immigration? It's like, because it's illegal.
Yeah, it's like, oh, so you're against immigration. It's like, I never said that. I'm against illegal immigration.
Yes.
And
And
so
I
that's
should
like the thing.
and you should
Like,
always be against
the
illegal blanks blank 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 blank, whatever it is. Just
illegal
whatever
anything.
follows
Yeah, illegal.
illegal.
Correct. Agreed.
um yeah. So yeah, that's a good point.
Well,
And
because that's what's happened. Like, you're against, and that's why I wanted to even do this episode. I think why the question was posed in the first place when I received, I was like, hey, we need to talk about this because I have good, well-meaning Christians that are being painted in a horrible, negative light, and they're made to sound like they are against all immigration. They don't want any more people to come into this country. They like it just the way, and that is not true.
right.
Like that's what it is. It's like no, it's folks who come here for the wrong reasons, the wrong way. They do horrible crimes, and they're not held to the same standard with the same penalties. Uh, and it also it really does disrespect, and it slaps the people who did do it the right way in the face.
Yeah.
It undermines what it means to be a citizen if you're born here. It truly undermines what it to those who know where they left, know their heritage, know their culture, where they're coming from, are trying to see this is how I can have a better life for me and my family, or a real American dream. And they fight tooth and nail. They get their visas. They take their citizenship test. They get, they get that document, and they're like, I have all of the rights and the privileges of the United States of America. I'm an American. I get everything. It's as if I was born here, you know?
Yeah.
It's great. And and it's just like you just see folks who just come here and it's just like you're just, you know, desecrating. Like I did it the right way. Um,
Yeah. And like, and and I don't know how many studies have come out and seen, and maybe not like full blown academic ones, because the ones that come out the most are always the political ones, since we do
yeah,
polls
the
so
Gallup
often.
polls and
Yeah, around election
the
cycles. But what's always
the
really
Prager
interesting
University.
is immigrants, not illegal immigrants, immigrants who have gone through the citizenship path are in majority anti illegal immigration.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
are also they also don't like illegal immigration, and that's because they've gone through the system, they've put in the work, they understand what it is to go through the system legally and wait your turn and do things properly. They are not people who illegal versus legal immigration, the distinction is not lost on them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and those people, they are against illegal immigration. They are against all of that. They are pretty conservative when it comes to immigration laws. Um, I think there's kind of a funny part to that. When we see, you would think that they would be the ones that would be saying, hey, we should open the border, but they're like, no, there is a path to citizenship here that I worked through, that everyone should have to work through. And don't mistake me here when I say this, folks. I mean, this isn't a salty close the door behind you. I mean, these are people that did travel through the process, understand what it takes, and say, hey, people should not be able to cut the line.
Mm.
There, it's a process that everyone can do. Um, so yeah, we're anti illegal immigration, and just for people to not also think that we're just coming out of left field. I mean, um, I pretty intimately know a bit about this because my own family has had to go through um this process.
Yeah.
And so, and I don't want to get too deep into detail about any of this, but just to say, this is where my heart is for this discussion. That
Mm-hmm.
I understand that the system does have its flaws, and I understand
Correct.
that there needs to be a reforming of it. There needs to be solutions to it. But that being said, illegal immigration is not the answer.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's fix the system, but not abolish having
yeah,
a system.
yeah,
You know, like, I'm on the similar end. Yeah. My grandfather came to this country,
yeah,
and my great grandfather on the other side came to this country from Germany, and the other, my grandfather from Sweden. So yeah, not Mexico, not Lithuania, but you know what I
yeah.
mean.
I mean, like,
I mean, you have
just even in the
Europeans.
process too. I
I have
mean, like,
Irish grandfathers.
I have a
Like,
family member from the earliest memories I have. They have been working through the citizenship process, and to this day, they're working through the citizenship process.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly, and that bugs me.
yeah,
I'm the first to say it. I I I I love it when people want to be here.
yeah,
Like, it makes me have my own sense of pride. Like, I'm glad I was born here because there are people that are working to have what I get just by being born here.
yeah,
And there are people that are working for this, studying for this. I joked around with friends. I was like, you know what? Our history classes in high school need to be better because I'm like, how many citizens could not pass the citizen test? You know? It's like, and
yeah.
if you did pass it, you'd probably be better citizens of, of this country. Like,
Right,
that's what I'm trying to say. Like, well, I'm not against immigration because I think those who do it the right way make better citizens.
right.
That's where I'm at. It's like the irony. It's like I'd probably rather have them than Trailer Park Tammy. Like, who just like, I'm an American. And it's just like, you are an American, but what does that mean? And to value it where you try not to have nationalist pride to the degree where you value it and hold it in higher esteem than being a Christian. That's one side of it. Uh, but to enjoy rights and privileges as a nation, the fact that we had to fight in a revolutionary war for those rights and privileges, that men and women still live and die to protect those freedoms, rights and privileges, like, I can't take it lightly. And so when I
Sorry.
find
Yeah,
folks that are just not trying to get here,
I need to interrupt there because there's actually
go
an
for it.
an argument that is popularly used that I think actually backfires, and I just need to
Yeah,
bring it out.
call it out, dude. Call
There's
it
a
out.
there's a popular level argument in which it's like, hey, we're a nation of immigrants, like, how are you any different, right? I mean, we're not native to this land.
Yeah, the only natives. are like not even Native Americans. They're just
Yeah.
natives,
Yeah,
as folks would say.
and we'll put an asterisk on that. Not challenging that, but that's a claim.
I know. I know what you mean. I know.
And so I get where people would say, oh, like, who are we to develop these immigration laws when we're immigrants? We're kind of fresh onto this continent ourselves. So that's kind of rich saying that we're now trying to gate people off of coming into America. Um, Except my thing is that argument doesn't work the way you think it does. And this is why. Um, Very many people use that argument derogatorily or pejoratively. That is, as an insult. Um, who do you think you are being so strict on immigration when you yourself are a foreigner? When you think about it in the grand scheme of about 200 years,
Yeah. Why are
you
you
know,
rough on the sojourner when you were one in Egypt?
right. Here's the thing, that argument works counter to you because we were once immigrants and we took over the land and now put the original native people on reservations to the point at which they're almost gone. If I really follow your argument, that is the best argument for why we should have strict immigration laws. Because someone can immigrate in, people can immigrate in and take over the country. Um, it's a really bad argument. And it's actually pro immigration laws when you think about it. But I did want to bring that up because
Yeah.
you sort of alluded to something like that. And
Well, yeah.
I
I
can
was
just
trying to
hear
think of.
someone saying in response to what you said, what I just laid out. And I just wanted to address that because,
Well,
yeah.
and I'm glad you did because I didn't know if I was going to bring it up. It actually kind of segues really well. Of that I have acquaintances. We were friends until we've grown up and our ideologies have drifted further and further apart, and now we're really just acquaintances where we still know each other, feedback on Facebook every now and again, but really
Mm,
not. It's hard to have the same relationship because we just have different ideologies now. It's hard to have fellowship. We
right.
just disagree. But over this, where it actually did come up on immigration. We had met up, and it came up in the conversation. I didn't start it. Like it's not like I was like, oh, let's stir the pot. I'm trying to live peaceably. Uh, and it came up, and it was interesting. It was actually um, uh, the Martha's Vineyard when Governor DeSantis in Florida
Mm,
and also Ted Cruz in Texas, where they were taking the illegal immigrants that were flooding the borders from Cuba into Miami and from Mexico into uh, um, Texas, uh, which is like the whole left side of the state. um, they were taking them in busloads, Greyhound buses, to these sanctuary cities all over the country. Of we welcome you know immigrants, so illegal immigrants at this point. We should have open borders, and they got sent to these sanctuary cities. And I don't know if you remember seeing on the news, like everyone who lived in Martha's Vineyard, they were not happy about it
mm-hmm.
whatsoever. You had folks even like, hey, well, how about you open up your doors? Are you willing to house some of these illegal immigrants because you're all for open borders and you're open for these housing? You think people should open up their homes and their businesses and their communities? This is it. It would help the country. Invite culture. It's a vibrance that you wouldn't be able to get elsewhere or without these folks. So here you go. You're a sanctuary city, and they were not happy. Well, you can't just
Right.
drop like the folks were literally like it's almost like they weren't human. Like you can just drop them off here. Like I'm not going to take care of them like they're like pet or something. Like I can't take care of them. You know, there's no place for them here. They're not going to sleep on my sidewalk. It was just, oh my goodness. It's like I thought you We're a sanctuary city. I thought you
Right.
were all for it until it's on your doorstep. And what's so interesting, we were thinking about that, and it's, you, I can't tell you how many times it's like we need reparations. We need to recognize the land, the people that this land used to belong to, and we took it from them. And it's like, well, the irony is the sanctuary city idea is like you are feeling what these Native Americans are feeling. You don't like it very much.
Yeah.
And so I'm not anyone who is a Native American or knows anyone on a reservation, and you are listening to this, please take this with a grain of salt. But the irony is like, hey, you saw what happened to the Native Americans. Why would you want that? You don't want that to happen to you. Like that. I mean,
Yeah.
this is kind of like what you were saying. Like
I
that's
mean,
the best lesson for. We need strict. You come here as an immigrant, and it's like, man, we were able to take this land. What do we need to do to make sure that that doesn't happen to us?
yeah.
Like
I
in a
mean,
secular, crude
what we
sense,
can
you
see
know?
from history and even our own history is what we did was not right.
Sure,
um,
sure. Yeah, 100%. Right.
like, yeah, and the people have suffered because of that. To this day, the reverberations of
Hmm.
our actions and how we handled that reverberate to this day. And that's where it's like if you're listening, you're Native American, we completely understand that and
Yeah,
agree.
that would
I
really
mean, we
bother
can't
me.
be empathetic, but we can be sympathetic here in understanding, hey, okay, not good. But that's also to say it would not be good then to carry on the same mistake just on
Right.
ourselves. And that's what you're saying. And it's like when we come to this topic, it gets overloaded with emotion. It gets reworded so that immigration is no longer the same. Well, actually, immigration is just wiped out completely and substituted for illegal immigration. And the Bible is used simply as a beating tool.
Yeah.
And because most people's the extent of their biblical knowledge is hippie Jesus loves all,
Yeah. Right.
they will use the Bible, not understanding that if I use the Bible, it's actually worse. And as we try
Right.
and use the Bible,
Right.
we need to be stricter. When we understand the foreigners' um, point of view, they are also strict on immigration as people that have gone through the process and understand that it is doable and that it can be accomplished and that no one should cut the line illegally.
Mm,
And
I
finally,
completely agree.
we all agree that the system needs to be changed. There needs to be formations, reformations, and we do need to continue to work on it. Um, that's everything that we have said on the subject. Um, it's like, all right, so as you can see, folks, there's a lot to the conversation here. Um, when we talk about immigration, and and we don't want the conversation to be too bogged down, but inherent to the conversation, there's a lot of baggage that's going to come with it, both politically, emotionally, religiously. um,
Exactly.
one quick takeaway that I did want to say to this is, guys, we are not a theocracy. Um,
Right.
I can see
I
someone
wish.
saying, well, you want it to be like that. No, I don't. I'm not the one advocating for this. I'm not the one saying that we should follow the Old Testament laws. Um, typically, that's the other side telling me I need to behave more in that manner. We live in a secular society that is grounded on Judeo-Christian principles. Um, and so when you say we need to behave more biblically, I agree. We do need to behave more biblically, and that means we should all be living under one law, um, even if it is a secular law based on Judeo-Christian values. We should at least be able to do that. I agree. And the problem is when we take that quick, simple little principle, we find that that is not the way our society is right now. We are not doing that one simple little principle of treating a foreigner like ourselves. Currently, we are treating them better than ourselves. We have to fix that. Dave, I'll give you the last word and then we'll go.
Watch out, affirmative action. You're next.
Oh man. Yeah. Is that even still around? It's dying. It's dying.
Cool.
Well, all right, folks. Don't forget to like, don't forget to share, don't forget to subscribe. It helps the algorithm. We really appreciate you guys for tuning in. With all that being said, we will catch you in the next episode. See ya.